E policja! Odvorsa! O hodolje! Hodolje, policja! Hodolje! E pisztor! Pisztor! Ahoj dziewczyny. Hi everyone, I'm Jessie and today we're going to go overseas to Slovakia to talk about the Stribog SP9A3. She has made her way into the background of so many of my videos at this point, so it is well overdue that she finally gets her own. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check me out on Instagram if you want to see more of me and Maze. But let's get started. Stribog, the god of wind, distributor of wealth. This powerful entity represents the cyclic nature between life and death. And although the interpretations might be a little different between each Slavic nation, and pronunciations might change, Stribog perhaps for most of you, Bog if you're a redneck like me, no matter which way you cut it, this powerful being is regarded as the destroyer of evil deeds and intentions, which that is a pretty sick name for this powerful little PCC. This thing is so reliable, an absolute laser, and I don't think you could get more accurate for a name than something like this. Like I said, this is the SP9A3, which means she's got an 8-inch barrel. I've got the Midwest Industries brace beam on this and a little tail hook brace there, which works just fine for me, gets the job done. There's obviously a lot of options on the market though. Comparing the A3 to the A1, there is a little bit of a price difference, which I personally think is worth the upgrade. The A3 models are a roller delayed system. You can see right there is the roller delay mechanism, that little kind of pin thing. You can see when I charge this back how it kind of engages and comes up when I charge the weapon. It's kind of hard to do. You get the idea. This is legitimately one of the smoothest PCCs I have ever fired, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't agree that they're absolute lasers and have such minimal recoil. And on the topic of recoil, I did upgrade this to have an HBI short stroke buffer kit on it. Might be worthwhile. A lot of people do recommend it. I think it's been working great for me. Not that it was a bad recoiling system to begin with, but why not treat yourself to something a little extra nice? And in comparison to a lot of other PCCs comparable to this, like the Scorpion, I do think that this is a better shooting system. Not that I don't love the Scorpion. I haven't personally fired the B&T SBC9. My friend has, he also has a Scorpion, and he believes that those two are much more comparable. So if that is the case, then the Stribog is a much less recoiling system. So when you consider the price differences between that kind of group, if you're in the market for something like this is absolutely a worthwhile option to consider. And if you are interested in one of these and potentially looking to upgrade even more, I do have the reduced weight trigger spring kit from HB Industries, which for $9 frickin', how can you go wrong with that? I think it was a great upgrade. Who doesn't have $9? Might be worth it. Check it out. If you look up here, I also do have the D-ball on. If you guys just watched my other potting video, then you know that this was potted by yours truly, a little experiment of mine. It has about 2,000 rounds on this point through multiple different weapon systems and is still shooting and working just great. Then I also do have the YHM R9 can up top here, which, interesting note on, I do have the JTAC Industries extended handguard up here, and you can see that the can does sit inside, which I think looks baller as hell. But in order to make this whole setup kind of work good for myself, you can see that I do have the extended mount system for the can here because of that. So I personally like to make use of the M-lock here. You can see I have this, which if I didn't have the extended mount, I wouldn't be able to use these attachment points under here. It's a little tricky to get to. Something to note if you're looking to get a system like this, depending how you like to configure your firearms, that was an easy solution workaround and not a big deal, just want to be cognizant of. Otherwise, in regards to rail space, I can mount on lights, lasers, optics, everything I want on here with no problems. You can see that there's plenty of working room. And I haven't cleaned this thing in like 1,700 rounds. I don't want to see the angry comments. Don't tell me how to treat my guns. But I do have a friend who has some kind of MP5 variant, and his gun started getting gunked up and a little rough around the edges around the 1500 round mark. She's operating beautifully. She has no problems, seems smooth as heck, and you can actually see some of the carbon buildup. I have not noticed any performance differences. So if you are a lazy piece of shit like I am, might be a good thing to consider.
My corner piece.
If I had to complain about this gun, I guess I would have two things to say. Honestly, I wish they just went with Scorpion mags. They are cheap, they work readily available, and it would solve a lot of potential issues. And then the second thing, I don't know if maybe it's just mine. Let me know if you guys have one and have this issue as well. There is a QD mount here, which for whatever reason won't engage. I don't know if maybe this was just cut bad. It looks like the little hooks for these bearings here might be a bit deep, and that's why it's not working. I mean, I don't really want to use that anyway, but you can see that it goes in just fine with other points. So I don't know if it's maybe just this one, if it's an issue across the board. Let me know if you guys have the same problem. So the Stribog comes from Grand Power, which is obviously a Slovakian company. This is the A3. I already mentioned the A1. On top of those two, there's the A3S and the A3G. And then you can get these things in 10 mil and 45. Between the A3 versions, S stands for short, and G stands for Glock. Very good. If you can't guess, G is obviously Glock mags. The gun is designed to be compatible with standard Glock mags, which is a nice bonus. The S version is short, so instead of 8 inches, it is a 5-inch barrel length. But on the topic of mags, that's actually something that was a problem when these guns were first coming out. The original design did utilize the straight mags, which drippy as hell. But if you watch the 635 video, then you know that they're kind of problematic. Even with the Uzis, the straight mag design has always been known to potentially have feeding issues. Spring tensioning is kind of tricky on that. So the original mags for this were the straight mags, translucent like this, and still have the plastic feed lips, but they did curve it for the upcoming versions, the upgraded versions, which the curve did help largely mitigate any of those feeding issues that people were experiencing. I'm sure you will still find people who say that they've had problems, and I'm sure you'll find people who say the straight worked great for them, but it was a worthwhile change. Emergency backup round holder for when shit really hits the fan. I'm not feeding that, that's bad. But I have just about 2,000 rounds on this gun and have not had a single malfunction. I have used a couple of different mags. I cycle through and I beat it to hell. Take that how you will. I do wish though that they would introduce opaque mags, or at least if they were going to use translucent mags, metal feed lips. The translucent mags, no matter what brand you're using, are known to be much more brittle. It is just inherent to the plastic type. So adding in those metal feed lips would help prevent any problems. In addition to heavy usage might make the lips crack. Don't want that to happen. But again, 2,000 rounds and it's still going great for me, and replacing mags isn't the end of the world. Kind of side note, but I've been running like a pseudo experiment at home. I do have a mag at home that has been filled probably since the day that I got this thing. So like a year and a half, 2-ish years now. Haven't seen any cracking, wear and tear on anything like that. It's just been sitting stagnant with a full mag of rounds, and it seems to be holding up well. While the lips are still plastic, it's definitely a thicker plastic. So do what you will with that. People have their opinions on all sorts of products. Peekaboo! A lot of people ask, so why a PCC? What's the point of something like this? Especially on my 635 video, I got a lot of comments on that, and honestly, I understand the point, especially when you consider the price. This one ran me about $900. The 635 was about $1,100 for me, which is expensive. Realistically, you can get a pretty decent rifle for yourself at that price. So when you consider the fact that this is obviously pistol caliber, it is shorter, so decreased barrel benefits of a rifle, decreased caliber benefits of a rifle, and decreased concealability compared to a standard pistol. It kind of does seem like a weird purchase on paper, but I will say PCCs do actually have a lot of use. They're a great option for home defense situations. They give you a little bit of a leg up in regards to standard pistols. You do get increased performance with the longer barrel compared to a standard pistol size. So a little extra security in that sense, on top of the fact that being able to shoulder it and maneuver better might make you more comfortable in the house, might help you maneuver, might help you stabilize and shoot better. So great home defense option. These things even make a great like truck carry, or I don't know, or ATV carry, something. If you take this off, backpack carry, I guess, which makes them fantastic as little like use around if you have like a farm or something like that type of weapons. Or if you just have really bad road rage, don't shoot people. They have great usage in ranges, depending on what your range restrictions might be, or if you don't want something as loud. And on top of that, if you find a PCC that has a same platform design as a full-size rifle version of what you're using, like the 635 to my AR, for example, that is a one-to-one system. I get to practice on the same base without spending all of that money. It is significantly cheaper to practice with 9mm than it is to practice with 5.56. So it is a great excuse to familiarize yourself and build those levels of comfort without breaking the bank. And on top of that, PCCs have become a great category in competitions, and they're just a shit ton of fun. So while it might not be for everybody, they certainly do have a place in this world, and I personally at least really like them. I genuinely really like this. There's a good reason it has been in the background of so many of my videos, and this is probably one of the more common things that I do take out to the range with me, because it is legitimately a lot of fun. If you're looking for a PCC, if you're kind of PCC curious, Stribog is a great option to go for, especially now that it does come in a lot of different caliber options. If you do have your preferences, I know a lot of people really stand 10mm and don't want to touch 9. There you go. But at the end of the day, whether this is for you or not, for what it is a fantastic option. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, leave comments below on things that you want to see, opinions, thoughts, criticisms. I don't care. I'm happy to hear from you guys. And I do hope to see you all next video. Yeah! Get your stick, get your stick. The stick's so big she can't like chase the leaf blower.